Yes, guys, and welcome to the BrokeCast. We're back. We're in a different country, different environment, same people. We've got some cool mics, cool camera, some decent lighting, and we're still broke there, unfortunately. This time round, it's going to be ever so slightly different. We're still going to be talking about random stuff that's going on in our lives, personal development, all that kind of good stuff. But we're also going to be focusing on crypto because, like you're going to find out within this episode, a lot's changed with us, and we're both into crypto now, both making content on crypto.
Yeah, crypto's been the facilitator that has opened the doors for us to be able to change our lives, or at least given us the opportunity to think differently.
That's it. But like I said, this is episode 1, so I think what me and Will wanted to do is just kind of give you guys a bit of a background in terms of what's been going on over the past 5 years, or just generally throughout our lives, just so you guys, know who we are and what we're doing right now. So, and then the future episodes, we are going to be talking about financial news, crypto news, all that good stuff as well. But yeah, let's jump straight into it.
Yeah, definitely. Like, this episode is going to be more of a background on us, and future episodes we are going to have guests on potentially, and get into their backgrounds. And the thing that I really want to share with you that you don't see from my social media, so one thing that I'm sure we'll jump into soon, is that I've actually managed to amass like a bit of a following on social media. I've got around over 100,000 people in my community now, and have started to join the social media journey as well. One of the things that I wanted to show was more about me and my personal development and our personal developments as well, not just in the financial regions, but also like within life itself, because it's a huge development that you have to make as a person to be able to unlock like the next level of the matrix, or whatever you think whatever's going on right now is like. I think you have to change everything. I've changed my whole life has changed, like everything. I'm not the same person at all.
Yeah, literally every single aspect of your life. We're going to go into this into more depth, but every single aspect of your life has to change: routine, habits, etc. Because a lot's changed. Like when we first started recording the BrokeCast 5 years ago, we were sitting in Will's room. We literally had my phone as the mic on a radiator, and we were both like leaning forward. And look where we are now. And this is just, honestly, I know this is just the start of where we're going to go in our careers and our lives, basically. And yeah, a lot's changed. But let's take it back then. Let's try and start.
Let's just add one thing. Let's just add one thing to that. Actually, is something that might be different with this podcast to what a lot of people online who are like influencers or content creators or influencers in general that might try and make out to you is, we're just going to be completely honest and open. Like everything that has happened in my life, good and bad, wherever I am right now, I know that I'm not at my end goal, and I know that I have a lot of flaws, and I want to openly talk about all those struggles that we have as well. Yeah. It's not just going to be like, oh, look at how glorious our life is. It's going to be, this is what we've done, these are the sacrifices we've made, this is where we are right now, this is where we want to be.
Yeah. Let's start from the beginning then, because basically, like Will mentioned, he's managed to grow a really good fan base, a really decent community within the crypto space. I'm going to pop up his socials on the screen right now. Go drop him a follow, and just whilst we're here, I'm going to pop up my socials, so go give me a follow. But yeah, where did you start? So you went, obviously, we both met at school.
Yep.
Will was 2 years above me, but our school was super small, so we knew of each other, and we both played football with each other and all that good stuff. He was actually in my sister's year, and we started to play Xbox with each other, and we're both avid gamers, and we're not afraid to admit that we were pretty much big COD geeks.
Yeah,
like I'm not actually even ashamed. In the past, this is what I mean. Like in the past, I would have been not ashamed to admit that, but I would never speak about that to anyone. Of course. But even we recently went on a holiday to Toronto and all that kind of stuff, and like my mates were like, oh, why are you going to Toronto for? And I was like, yeah, we're going to go watch this COD tournament. Like we bet on it, we bet on COD, and we follow it kind of thing. And I didn't feel like embarrassed at all. Whereas like Pav, who was 5 years ago, would have been slightly apprehensive to even speak about that kind of stuff, because like I said, we're going to go into all this, how I feel in the past that I felt like I cared too much about what people thought about me. And that's one of the big barriers that I've kind of worked on over the past couple of years, I'd say, which has allowed me to do what I'm doing right now, and it's kind of helped me develop as a guy as well. So
yeah, look, that journey's not over. Like I'm in exactly the same position as you. Have been probably with it in that realm for a bit longer. Obviously, making content full time for 3-4 years now, and it's still not easy. No, I still don't find it super easy to make content. Sometimes I try and mix my content up, and when I mix my content up to things that I'm less comfortable with, I still feel embarrassed, insecure, all these sorts of feelings that I think everybody gets when they're in front of a camera, especially for the first time. But even when you get further down the line, that doesn't go away. But what does develop is your understanding of yourself and less of a waiting on what other people think.
Yeah, you're right. It doesn't actually get easier. You just got to constantly develop. You've got to constantly knock down these barriers. For example, like, obviously we're in Dubai right now, and we're here with, obviously it's me, Will, we've got Matt's behind the camera, and we've got Harry as well, who's here, who's going to feature on this podcast as well. But even for me to like film in front of them, for me, like when you guys were looking at me, Matt was holding the light and the camera was there in front of me, I felt it was different because I'm normally like accustomed to filming myself in my own personal environment. No one's next to me. But even having you guys here, who obviously are really good friends with me, it was still a bit, I felt it really hard. But like, even like when I filmed yesterday, it got a lot easier. It's all about just constantly progressing and doing stuff you don't want to do.
Yeah,
doing stuff what people aren't doing as well.
But one of the things that I'm sure you will comment on, you put yourself in uncomfortable positions. Like, we take inspiration from some big, I'd say, male influencers out there, because one of the things that I found in my journey is that I've always been worried about what other people thought about me.
Yeah.
In terms of even masculinity, I think masculinity is almost quite frowned upon in our generation. It's my personal view that it is. But even me saying that, oh, that's my personal view, because I don't want to offend anyone, and I have to tiptoe with what I say, or I feel like I do. And one of the things that has helped me, and the thing that I was going to reference to in the first place, was some of the big content creators like David Goggins, for example. There's a lot of truth in what they say when they say things like, put yourself in uncomfortable positions, because then that's where you'll grow. And I definitely agree with that.
It's bang on. It's bang on. Like, when I look at my life, I've only been putting myself in uncomfortable positions, I'd say, for the past like 12 to 18 months, I'd say, me personally. And that is the period in my life which I've actually made the most progression in every single aspect. Like, it translates to everything, like mental, physical, it's all just kind of combined into one. And like, it's good though, because I always say to you, like, me and Will, obviously, he's my best mate and we speak all the time. And I find myself saying to him every 6 months, like, I can't believe how much I've progressed in the last 6 months. It's because I'm constantly trying new things. I'm constantly doing things which in the past I would never have ever thought of doing, because, again, like I said, I was just so conscious about what other people thought. I never actually believed I could do it, because I thought, no, they're pretty good at making content. I don't think that's a bit of me, kind of thing. But you don't find out until you actually do it. And I know it sounds super cliche, but like, you actually don't know until you try.
Yeah,
and like,
definitely.
you can sit there and just think all day long, I want to do this. You know, I'd love to. You're on YouTube and you're looking at all these YouTubers and you're thinking, yeah, their lifestyle is really cool. Like, I'd love to be like, even like a small percentage of what they're like. But the truth is, and again, it's going to sound super cliche, we're not trying to be generic here, but like, you actually can. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can actually do whatever you want to do if you actually try and put in the work, and if you don't care about what other people think, you can do it.
Yeah, that's so true. And it sounds cliche, and it also sounds like, oh, these guys sitting there, easy for you to say something like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, it is easy for me to say now, because I've put the grind in. I've done the work, I've done the time. Yeah. And like I said to you, whenever you were first starting out making content, like, you've done a few like content creation channels, let them go over the time, and then made again, let them go, like these sorts of things. And one of the things that I know you're worried about, and I'm going to relay on this, like, and talk about this specifically because it's something that a lot of people worry about, and that I did in the first place, is the quality of your content. You want to put out like the best video you've ever made the first time you put one out.
Yeah.
And what I always say to everybody, anyone who's interested in trying to become an entrepreneur or make social media content, is just start. Yeah. Just have a go, because you're going to work along the way. You're going to be like, okay, cool, that worked, that didn't work. Every single video, if you can like make one tiny improvement over however many videos that I've made, I don't know, like, let's say I've made like 10,000, 20,000 short form videos, I have no idea. Every single one I try and improve, and I'm still anywhere near as good as like even your video editing skills. But what I've learned along the way is that each time I'm going to be consistent, and I'm going to try and implement something extra every single time I like make a video.
That's it. You learn on the job. Like, you learn more from actually practicing something than just like sitting there in your room, like just YouTube and learn. Obviously that's good. Obviously you need to do that, obviously, and actively learn. But like, you learn, I'd say 70% actually trying it and actually doing, like, for instance, that's related to content creation, because we're both content creators, but like actually editing your videos and going through that process of making a top quality video, that's where you learn. So just like Will said, just actively doing it. Let's go back to you. So obviously we finished school, finished college, obviously you went to Loughborough College and did sport. And what did you do? What was your first job? What career path did you go into?
Yeah, so while I was at Loughborough, I was working at home base.
Yeah, I remember those days.
I hated every second of that.
Yeah.
I used to just stand about in the back of the store, hoping no one asked me a question. And when someone asked me a question, I would literally take them to another staff member and say, I'm new here, and these guys will help you out.
Work smart, not hard, people. Work smart, not hard.
Yeah, never really felt like I fit in at school. Never really felt like I fit in really anywhere, to be honest. And apart from online, when we were playing games. At the same time as doing that, I actually started streaming, gaming, and we used to play competitively, but I started streaming in like end of Black Ops 1, Black Ops 2 days, which was, I was probably 15 or 16.
Something like that, yeah.
I've got, like I showed, we looked the other day actually, weirdly.
Yeah,
I've got YouTube videos from 15 years ago, so I was 15 when I first started making some sort of content. I mean, the quality was crap, but...
Yeah, but still.
It was the start. And then from Loughborough College, I went to Sheffield Hallam University and did physical education school sport to be like a PE teacher. I enjoyed that and I like working with children, but I didn't think it was going to fulfill me as in terms of like learning, creativity and what I wanted from life. I think that I always knew that I didn't want to have a 9 to 5 and just to tick along a normal life. So we'll get more deep into that in a minute. I'm just going to try and give you a revised timeline of my life. So then after that, I did some traveling, went to South America, went to ski season, went to Australia. And at the same time, I was on and off doing different jobs. So I worked for Revolution, the bar, like as in the cocktail bar, Revs.
You've done a lot.
I worked in office, a shoe shop in the day. I was getting a little bit of money for playing football. And that's actually why I stopped working at office, because they said that I couldn't play football and still work for them, because I was working Saturday, Sunday there at Revs in the week. And then I worked at a deli, cafe, restaurant sort of thing. And there I ended up working in the kitchen. And at the same time that I was doing that, I started a company, Ecobrew, which is toothbrushes, bamboo toothbrushes mainly, travel cases and holders for my toothbrushes. They were going pretty well. Had like meetings with Boots. That's where I got to. Had like meetings with Boots, Marriott hotels, these sorts of people. I was like thinking, yes, I've spent so much time on this company. I grinded that company from absolutely zero. I never had any business background, any experience. My dad owned a small company, but didn't really help me at all with that. He gave me some pointers, and obviously I had some inside knowledge of like what I saw at his company. But he's quite like, or at least he was, he's changed a lot recently. He was quite like a tough love sort of like dad. He'd just be like, yeah, like good luck sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of good things that come out of that. We can touch on that later on as well.
Because I feel like, obviously your dad's very different to mine, but they share similar traits in that regard. But yeah, sorry, carry on.
No, that's all right. And then COVID-19 came and that smashed my company. I wasn't doing like massively well, but I probably sold like, I think I sold like 70,000 toothbrushes, which is quite a lot over like 2 years. And then when COVID came, I like just stopped selling anything at all. It went from my biggest turnover year to literally zero, because I was mainly supplying retailers in the UK and all the shops closed. So I was like, what the hell am I doing? The November of 2020 was like my worst time. If the bull run was 2021, right?
Yeah.
For crypto. November of 2020 was like my worst time mentally. I was just feeling super low, and my company wasn't performing as well as I wanted it to. It went like low. I just put so much time into this company. Obviously COVID came around and kicked it to the floor. I felt like I had nothing in life. Like I was gaming, like in the day, it was COVID, and I was just like, this is like shit. Like, what is this all there is to life? And like my mum's been super, super supportive. So this is going to paint the wrong picture. But she was like, look, one thing she said to me that's always just stuck with me is, everyone has to work, and it's a bonus if you enjoy what you do. And I was just like, that was from when I was young. She used to tell me that. She was like, if there's aspects of your job that you like, then you're in the right profession.
Yeah.
She's like, some people go to work and hate every day. And like, I couldn't find anything that I liked. Like as I said, like as we just talked about, I've tried loads of stuff.
This is it. You've obviously worked in a deli, you worked in a bar, you worked in a shoe shop. We've tried drop shipping, like both individually, tried it both on our own backs, tried drop shipping. You streamed multiple times. This is it goes back to what we were saying earlier. Like you have to be proactive and try everything out there. Where people are trying to sell everything to you. Like you can try YouTube automation, which is shut up, Mats. You can try. There's loads of business models out there which you can try, and like Will's a perfect example of someone who's gone through it, tried this, failed at that. Where most people would stop at that point and they'll be like, okay, look, maybe this entrepreneurial lifestyle is not for me. Maybe I'm just going to jump into a 9-to-5, which is fine, by the way. If you're working 9-to-5, it's absolutely fine if you enjoy what you do. But I think Will is a prime example, and I'm not just trying to gas him up because he's my best mate, but he's a prime example of like resilience, a resilient person who's tried a business, tried this, failed at that, not done too well at that, but done really well at this, and then he's finally found his niche, his speciality, which is crypto content creation, which is about to get into, and look where he is now. He's excelled, and he's found his passion, and he's in a position right now, I know for a fact, and I'm confident to speak on behalf of him, where he loves what he does every day, making content on crypto and discussing the financial markets. That's what he loves, and that is a result of week in, week out, trying different things, failing at this, getting to your lowest points. Because, and like, Mike Tyson, loads of successful people have said it, you have to get to your lowest point in your life to kind of get to your top, you get to your peak. Because
absolutely.
You kind of realise that, okay, look, this is shit. Like, I need to do something. It gives you that drive, doesn't it? It gives you that kind of like kick up the backside to be like, no, this isn't me. I need to actually do something now.
Definitely, and you can't build if you haven't been down. Like, the one big thing for me when I've been at my lowest is realising that like it can only be up from here. Like in that period, it was like, in the UK, getting into winter time, everyone's flipping depressed. The weather's crap all the time. Like the weather's like grey, miserable. I'd been really trying on my grind, like with my company, like starting to cut my friends out because I was like, look, I'm going to try and do something here. Very isolated, and then basically everything started failing around me, and I fucking got to a point where I was just like, if this is all there is to life, I didn't want to be alive. I don't want to be alive. And like, I thought about like killing myself. I actually thought about really horrible thoughts. Like the only reason I didn't actually do anything was because I worried about like what my sister and my mum would be thinking. And that sounds like a really morbid thing to say, but it's actually completely the honest truth. And I think a lot of men will experience similar things, maybe not have the same sort of saviour, and there's a lot of problems with like men's mental health, which is one of the things that I do want to get onto later on in my life. It's when I've achieved my personal goals. It's one of the things I want to spend a lot of time pushing towards. I didn't see that there was any more to life than where I was when I was in that dark place. And then out the back of that, it's almost like a phoenix rising out of the ashes. And one thing that I do really want to put a point onto though is that it's not instant. It's not instant. Like, life's hard. Like, I'm not going to lie, life's hard. But that's exactly the point that we were making at the start, is like, you have to do uncomfortable things to get good results. If you try and sit in a comfortable life or do what everyone else is doing, if it's not what you think you should be doing, life is shit. Like, life feels shit. And I am now in a much better mental space, but I can never be. There's going to be dark days in my life, like always is. Like, life's up and down. It's not I'm not even looking to be fully up. I never want to reach the pinnacle, because then you're only going to go down. But that aside, is I never want to be complacent. You want to just grow every day and get into a place where you're looking towards. You should never actually reach, in my opinion. And that's kind of where I'm trying to go back to the point of, you do little things every day, because if you try and like hit a big goal straight away and you do hit it, then it doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
You have to improve on yourself every single day with like tiny little things. The thing that we can draw that back to is like posting a video. You post a video out, and this is kind of can be a metaphor to life. It's like that first video you put out is shit.
Yeah.
Like it's pretty shit.
Yeah.
And you look back at it now and you're like, oh, that's crap.
Yeah.
Because you know nothing about an algorithm, you know nothing about trending like sound, you know nothing about how to edit, you know nothing about how to like put a hook out there to bring people into your video. You literally know nothing about the content side of it, you know nothing about even the fundamental side of anything that you're posting about. And you learn each of those tiny little aspects every day.
Yeah. That's weird, bro, because you can actually think about like content creation as that life. So for example, I only started making videos, let's say November of 2022. So like it's not long. It's been about what month through now? So it's been about let's say 10 months. And like there's been points. Actually, there was a point because I went through and like cleaned up my socials where I went back and looked at my first few videos, and they are awful. Like obviously, first of all, I didn't have my face in because I didn't want to put my face in because I didn't really feel comfortable at that point. But like the editing, all that kind of stuff. But as I sifted through my content, as I was cleaning up the socials, you can kind of see little improvements, whether it be the editing. Then I suddenly started showing my face. Then little things to add in subtitles, animations, trending sounds, like different effects in your videos to keep people's attention. Then my scripts got better, my content, actually quality of my content got better, it got more informative, etc. And you can kind of relate that to life, like going from like a down place, whether you're like mentally and you don't want to be here anymore, to slowly working your way up to like not the pinnacle, but highs you've never really experienced before in terms of personal development. And I don't know if you can relate to this as well, but when you start making those moves, it all kind of comes into one. Like it's not just your physical health improves, your relationships with other people improves, you attract the right people in your life, because you hear a lot of people say, and I'm just going to relate this to relationships, is that work on yourself, and whoever like your soulmate will just come into your life because you will attract that person, kind of thing. And that is just facts. That is just facts. When you really work on yourself, and that's the way I kind of relate to content, kind of thing. But
yeah, well, along the way, like you have to make really hard sacrifices as well.
Yeah.
Like you have to cut, and those sacrifices are personal in terms of friendships, but also in terms of like time you spend doing things, what you eat, what you spend your mental space thinking about. For example, many people I thought were like integral parts of my life are like no longer in my life, and that's not like for a reason that I think some people might look at that and be like, oh, like he changed up on us or whatever. It's like, no, you just wanted to stay where you were, and I wanted to do more. And that isn't me trying to be better than you. It's just I know that like me spending time with you is me losing the ability to grow, and it's not an easy path. But like, yeah, I had people in my life that I knew from like when they were born or whatever, and I considered them like best friends or brothers or whatever. And like, I also, which is a tough lesson to learn, is like they let me down, and like getting let down by people is another part of like building this resilient personality that you need to be able to build if you want to try and get to the wherever you want to get to. Like if you've got big goals, you've got to be like a really top level person, in my opinion. If you want to be part of like the 1% in whatever you want to be part of the 1% of, you've got to be able to do more than 99% of people can do, whether that's like in mentality, whether that's in like work ethic, whether that's in like resilience, discipline. All of them combined create the person, and then that person can then excel in each different area, in my opinion.
Yeah, so like there was obviously a period in your life when you were going through that. Say for example, when your mate started making content creation and you're like spending a lot more time working on your brand and working on yourself, kind of thing, and you cut these people out of your life, you felt a lot lonelier, didn't you? And that's almost important as well, isn't it? Like you have to go through, in my opinion anyway, and I know a lot of people share that, a lot of successful people share this opinion as well, you have to kind of go through a certain period of your life in balance. Like, yeah, look, everyone says you need a certain balance, like work, socialise and all this kind of stuff. I agree, I do agree generally, but I generally do think, and I'll preach this to my children as well, because I think it's that significant, is that you need to go through a certain period of your life where you're just literally focusing on building yourself to become well, the only way I'm going to explain it is become a beast. And I don't just mean that like for me in the gym or whatever like that physically. I mean in every single aspect of your life, because like we said, discipline, motivation, all these personality traits, all these traits, they all come into one and they make you to who you are. So like you need to go through that period where you're actively almost feel you're in a period of discomfort, because you know like you're grinding, but you know you're grinding towards something, and it's just good because you know you can see that progression in yourself, whether it be in your work, like I said before, relationships, all that kind of stuff. But
you've just got to isolate yourself.
Yeah, you do.
And you've got to isolate yourself mentally, you've got to isolate yourself physically.
Some people can't do that though, because some people they just love, like, again, I'm not trying to relate this to anyone in my life or anything, but like some people just love their social life too much. And you do need to socialise. I'm not saying don't socialise, sit in your room all day, because that's bad for you. That's probably the worst thing you can do. But some people cannot let go of like missing out on things.
Yeah, like I'm going to say I agree and I disagree with what you're saying. I don't think you do need to socialise. Like
at all. Well,
not for periods. Yeah, for periods of your life, I don't think you do.
Yeah, fair.
I think like to be able to have a clean break from friendship groups and have a clean break from people who don't positively affect your life, you have to sacrifice the social time. And I think that, like, just like you were talking about there, it's like you have to really grind. And that's one of the reasons why, I don't know if I beat around the comment a little bit or didn't get directly into it, but one of the reasons, like, it's almost important, and a lot of people talk about that successful people have been really low. Once you're really low, you realise that no one's really got you back. And like, that's why I was saying about like my mum and my sister, because I know that they would always have my back, and I know you would as well, but like they would be super upset. But like what I really realised then is no one even fucking knows like whether I'm low or not. And no one really cares. Like no one really cares. Yeah. People care, of course, like a couple of people. And like when I say a couple, it's like literally 2 or 3. Yeah. And like put my dad in the category as well. But like even in that aspect, and I don't want to put you guys in that, but even in that aspect, if you properly think to yourself, most people don't even care more than they would care about like a fucking TV program that they're watching. Yeah. They actually don't care.
It's a sad reality, but it's true.
And that's why I think that the social part can be cut out, because I didn't really go outside for a long period. And I think that that's had positive and negative effects on my life. But I think that I needed personally to get away from everybody and make myself an outsider, understand that I am an outsider, and then also reverse that mindset and be like, oh no, these guys are doing things that are wrong for where I want to be. Because I can't get to where I want to be if I'm going down the pub on Saturday night. Yeah. And I can't get to where I want to be if I'm going to the cinema with a girl at this time. Yeah. I didn't date, I didn't do anything for that period of time. There was probably like a 1.5, 2 year period in my life where like everything I felt like I held at arm's length. Yeah. Arm's length. I was like, no, I ain't doing that. And like every now and then, yeah, cool, I might go out and have done something like go to the gym or whatever. But I didn't hold any weights, anything. I was like, I'm only gonna, and it wasn't even I was gonna focus on myself. I wasn't even thinking about that. I was just like, I'm just gonna keep trying to do better at the thing, whatever I was doing at the time, which was like starting to make TikTok videos every day. So like at the time, I still had my company. Yeah. I was working, it was COVID, so I was working for my dad. He had a company that he was trying to sell, and I was like he had a pet product company. I was going down there and I was like putting labels on like dog bones and packing dog bones into boxes like all day. I did that like 3 days a week. I had my company, which is my full-time company. At the same time, when I was in that warehouse, I had crypto podcasts on all day. I'm talking like 10 hours a day. I'd get home, I'd be absolutely knackered. Obviously have to do the orders that if I got any from my company after that day of work, and then I'd make 3 TikToks every day. And I was just like, and they're going to be better tomorrow. And they're going to be better tomorrow. I'm going to learn more tomorrow. What am I going to make TikToks about tomorrow? Because I want to learn more about crypto. And then that's how I got into full-time crypto content creation.
That's crazy.
Spent like 1.5 or 2 years of doing that every single day, day in, day out. And I got obsessed with it. Yeah.
During COVID, when lockdown kind of started getting eased, me and you started going for these walks around like a massive park near Wilson. We used to do this every Friday. And I remember when you first started your like content creation journey, I literally remember you saying this, is like, you almost asked me, am I doing the right thing here, because it feels a bit weird, like, I won't say you felt embarrassed, but you almost felt like, you almost knew it was so different to what the average Joe was doing at that time. You almost thinking, shall I even be doing this kind of thing? Content probably wasn't getting a lot of traction in your obviously early days like everyone else, but what was that like, dealing with the mental side of it?
Yeah, so it was pretty weird to make content about crypto because for two reasons really. One, I had to invest all my life savings into something that all my friends or all people around me, family, everyone didn't know anything about. So that makes you feel like in a vulnerable, weird position. But also, not just they didn't know anything about it, anyone who did know anything about it was basically telling you to stay away because it's full of like scammers or whatever.
Yeah.
And the other weird part was creating TikToks, creating videos on a platform that was mainly used by like children and people for dances, all this sort of stuff. That's a very strange place to be when you never really made any content before.
Yeah.
And when you're older, I was like 27 when I started creating content full time, no one around me was creating content either. So I felt like weird in a lot of different ways and almost like an imposter.
You kind of need the right people around you at that time because I know I told you to like just carry on, crack on with it. Don't worry about that too much because again, it comes back down to what we were talking about earlier. Is you need to be doing stuff that other people aren't doing, and this is why it's important to have like the right people around you. Everyone says it. You hear it all the time. People always say like you are a result of like the 5 closest people around you, but like you need to be held accountable by your best mates. Like you can, for me, for example, when I first started doing content and I started doing stuff outside my job, other than socialising, I used to think I was doing a lot. I honestly, I used to lie to myself, and the majority of people watching this probably lie to themselves now. And we also do it subconsciously, like here and there, but like people actively lie to themselves, telling themselves that, oh, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, other people aren't doing that, so I'm probably doing more. But again, this is why you need that someone who's going to hold you accountable. Like I know, for example, like a year and a half ago, before I kind of went through like a transition in my life, my mindset, like Will used to tell me, like in a nice way, he didn't say it in a horrible way at all, but it was in a constructive manner, that I think you've got more potential basically, and I just feel like you're wasting a lot of time doing other stuff. You're maybe doing this too much, smoking too much, whatever. And at the time, I saw it as a bit of like an insult, took it the wrong way. Didn't really know why he was saying it because I was supposed to be his best mate, whatever. But like now I've gone through that massive transition, and I know obviously we spoke about this anyway, but now I've gone through this transition, you kind of realise that he was right the whole time. So don't always take constructive criticism the right way. You need to kind of become mature enough. You need to take constructive criticism on the chin, because ultimately, if it's coming from the right voice, which it was in this situation, it's going to help you long term.
Well, yeah, I agree with that. Definitely agree. But it's in the sense of if you want to do more with your life.
Yeah.
I also did say to you, like, look, if you do want to do more, then you can't be doing what you're doing now, basically. Sure. And that's exactly what it is. It's like, there's nothing wrong with going out and socialising and doing all that sort of thing if that's what you want to do with your life. But if you want to be more, you can't do things that everyone else is doing.
No, you got to go all in, bro. Because and we spoke about this several times. You have to, if you want to be the best at whatever you're doing, whether it be inside of work, go gym, whatever you're doing in your life, that isn't your 9 to 5. Actually, even in your 9 to 5, you have to go all in. It has to be the only thing that occupies your brain space. Like you can't be getting distracted by, and it goes back to this balance thing we were speaking about earlier. You have to go all in, and you have to live your life in balance. Like you best believe all these top content creators in the world, but as soon as they wake up, they're on job. Like they're getting up and they're working towards their brand. They're working towards this in directly or indirectly. Like they don't sit there and like 6 o'clock comes, they finish their like 9 to 5 hours, whatever they decide to work in. They don't just sit there and like switch on Netflix and sit there for 4 hours and watch a series. They don't have time. You don't have time.
No.
Like this is gonna sound brutal, but at the end of the day, this is a fact because the world is so competitive right now. Everyone's got access to a wealth of information. Anyone can become a millionaire right now. If you're sitting there watching Netflix for 3 hours, you're getting outworked by so many people our age. Like, and that's how you have to think it. Some people might disagree with this, but like it's a bit of a competition.
No, it is. It's absolutely
if you want to be successful and financially free, you need to be all in, because Tom, Dick, and Harry in Dubai, for example, they're going to be grinding their arse off, and they're doing it until they make it, and they are going to make it.
And they might be less intelligent than you. They might have less talent than you. But if they work more hours than you, they're going to be ahead. Exactly. You have to be obsessed. You have to be obsessed.
Do you think you got to a point where because I'm getting to this point now, where you enjoy that though? You enjoy going all in. Like some people even listen to this will be like, nah, that's too much. That's too much stress. That's good. You're going to burn out. Okay, cool. But I've got to the point where, like, if I'm not doing something that are productive towards one of our goals that we've got, because we're not just doing content creation, we're trying other things on the side. Now we're out here in Dubai, we're trying to get into like loads of other things, which we'll get into in further episodes. And like, so as soon as we're kind of done with our allocated time of recording content, recording this podcast, after this, we're going to be working on other things.
Yeah.
Because like, we enjoy it. This is us, and like that's just the mindset. That's just who we've developed into through all of our failures, and it's ultimately who we are now, kind of thing.
I want to actually add something about that. It's like going all in is a different concept depending on who you are. Like, and the competition we also talked about is like Tom, Dick, and Harry are doing it. But my main motivation for myself is like competition against me.
Yeah.
Like I just need to be better against myself. Like I don't try and assess myself against someone else.
Yeah,
I do as much work as I can, and then I need to better myself.
Yeah.
And I know from my experience in how long I've been doing whatever I've been doing, is that as long as I improve on myself, I can't be unhappy. Like if that that improvement comes under entrepreneurial improvement, mindset improvement in social circles, networks, all these sorts of things. If I can improve a little bit every day, no matter where it is, whether it's editing videos, whatever it is, a tiny little improvement each day, that's when you start to see big results.
Through growing your brand, it's exposed you to so many opportunities.
Yeah, so just before I jump into my network, I think it's important to talk about how you can create a network. And I think you can create a network for any brand, whether that be your own personal brand or whether that be some sort of like retail brand or commerce, whatever it is. You create that through social media. So you just have to keep putting those videos out there and put them out like day to day, because you don't know who's watching your content. Like if you've got 10 viewers, 100 viewers, 1,000 viewers, 100,000 viewers, you can always imagine that there's going to be like 1 to 5% of those people are going to hate, just because they've got nothing better to do. 1 to 5% of those people are going to be like people who are competing with you or in a level with you that want to connect with you. And the rest are probably people who are interested in your topic, either because they like your style of content or they want to learn more about your niche.
Yeah.
So you never know who's watching your video.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you said to me when I first started making content. You said it's free. It's a great way to market yourself. You don't know what opportunities like that's going to open up for you. Even like now, we went to a networking event. Yesterday, a couple of days ago. Yeah. A couple of days ago, went to a networking event, and like, you start showing off like your content creation skills, and like not just the fact that you know a lot about crypto. It shows you can market a brand or whatever. So you actually don't know what opportunity that kind of stuff is gonna open, because everything's on social media now. Like, every brand, every content, everything's on social media. That's the way people market themselves, and that's the way it is now. Opposed to like what it used to be before social media was like ads, all that kind of stuff. It was a lot different now. Social media tends to be that outlet, doesn't it?
Yeah, look, and there's a lot of different ways you can make money, either online or offline, however you want to do that. But my advice to anybody that I know who comes to me and says, I want to be an entrepreneur, is start a social media channel. A zero upfront capital. You can start on your phone, you have absolutely no excuse, and you get back what you put in.
Yeah, and what we were saying earlier when we were talking about you don't know how these skills are going to affect your future endeavours. Being able to edit your videos, for example, like when you start, inevitably you're going to edit your own videos unless you want to pay someone. If you've got that capital, then fair enough. But like for me, I edit my own videos, and I've got to a pretty averagely decent standard, like I'd say above like your standard average. And so say if I ever create a business, or when I create another business or whatever it is, I've got this like skill set behind me now where I can edit videos. So like it's not just about content creation. There's just so many other things that it helps create, isn't it?
It opens the door. It opens the door into a lot of different things. So you just said there, before you started talking about that you're the one who edits your video, you said, oh, other people can edit your video. If you didn't make videos yourself, you probably wouldn't even know there was other people out there who would edit your videos for you.
True.
You open a door into like a new world that you've never ventured into before.
It's true.
Even if you know nothing about social media, put yourself in front of the camera, upload it to Instagram, TikTok, whatever, and just learn. You'll learn loads of different things. You'll learn how to upload a video, even to start with. You'll learn that, why are other people's videos performing better than mine? Are they longer? Are they shorter? Do they have more hashtags? Do they have a trending sound? What is the hook like? So that's the first, on TikTok, for example, 0.7 seconds, or on Instagram, 3 seconds. What are the first 3 seconds? Are they doing something different? Is that just a visual hook? Is that an audio hook? Is that something with text on it? Are you going to have captions on your video? All these things you'll start to pick up on. You'll be like, oh my God, there's so much to this. And it's the same with crypto, and why I like crypto so much there's so much to learn. I love to learn. And you have to have those like inspirational things, but you don't learn those little aspects and they feel like tiny little things. You don't learn them unless you're in there, unless you're doing it, because if you've never made a video and published it to different platforms, you don't have a clue like what the algorithm's looking for, how to structure a video even. You probably don't even speak well on camera. And like all these things we're still improving at. We're not perfect, but we're better than a lot of people, but you just learn it from like repetition. You learn it from repetition, getting comfortable in front of a camera. Look at the difference between this and like our first ever podcast.
Yeah, it's crazy.
We weren't even on a camera, and I still felt well more nervous to like speak.
Yeah, it's just life skills, isn't it? It's not just, like I said, there's loads that goes into it. It's not just editing, or it improves the way you communicate, which is arguably one of the most important things ever. Because as soon as you open your mouth, that other person who you're speaking to knows exactly who you are. Yeah. Then they probably get a good gauge of how intelligent you are. And talking into a camera, you will be surprised how much that actually improves your communication, the way you express your words. It all makes a big difference, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. It's all like life lessons.
Yeah.
Everything to do with creating content and creating yourself into a better person. Yeah. Is something that's going to help you in a lot of different scenarios. So all the scenarios that I've talked about in the past, we've said this, is that everything that I've done has helped me become the person I am today. I didn't know it was going to at the time, but creating a gaming channel helped me create videos. Like being in Discord servers, like finds me different people, like shows me what it's like to be in like forums online. Even like having businesses shows me that you need to be disciplined every day. Even when days aren't good, you just keep turning up, and at some point something's going to go well.
That's what it's all about.
And all of those little failures throughout your life, at the time you think, what am I doing? But one day it will come a day and you're like, oh, actually, I can do that because of this. A small example would be, even from my gaming stuff, and this shows actually how much I've progressed as a person, I got offered, and I did take the job for a little while, to help write the curriculum for esports at Loughborough College, and was teaching 16 to 18-year-old learners, like coaching them in esports, like in different games. That would have been my dream career, go back 5 years, but I only got even to that point because I'd streamed and all this sort of stuff, and they'd actually seen my streams, and I used to be a student there.
Exposing yourself, isn't it? It's just exposing yourself to the opportunities, and that's a big reason why we've come here to Dubai. You're exposing yourself to the opportunities, relating it to crypto. Dubai's a crypto hub, so we're exposing ourselves, going to these network events, again, exposing yourself to all these opportunities. We're speaking to people who if we stayed in Leicester, we wouldn't be speaking to these kind of people. Like, it just opens your eyes, isn't it? Like, there's just so much out there. Yeah, and marketing yourself is just a massive, massive part of it.
But going back to what we were talking about at the start of the podcast, is like, I still don't find those events easy. No, like, I don't find any part of it easy. It's just like, with time, you get more used to it.
But it's just, again, like we said earlier, little things. Keep pushing yourself. Even though you think like, okay, now I speak in front of a camera, my communication skills are a lot better. Cool. Now go to a network event and speak to like a professional within that space. Yeah. And then again, felt super uncomfortable speaking to people because I could tell like the terminology they were using was like really complex, but you still did it. But why was I pretty good at holding a conversation? Because I started to making content.
Yeah, exactly.
And my communication skills have developed tenfold, and now I can actually hold a conversation with someone who probably has a bit more knowledge than me, but I can still hold myself in a conversation with them. Yeah, and that came from marketing myself and creating content.
Yeah, for sure. I think there's a lot to be said about creating content in general.
It's massive. It's massive.
Definitely. And like, we're going to get onto the point of networking now.
Yeah.
And as I was saying, you don't know who's watching your content. Content has helped me, has opened the door for me to be in the room with almost anybody now. Yeah. Like, some of the people that I've met through content creation side of things, that was my chance to be able to display my knowledge, and then from that display, they've contacted me personally, and now I do asset management consultancy with really high net worth and individuals and people who I never ever would have been in contact with had I not done social media.
Let's just take Raoul Pal, for example. You've got something published in his Global Macro, was it?
Global Macro Investor. So I published so I had Raoul Pal on my podcast. People could say that was luck because I slid into his Instagram, into his Twitter DMs. But I don't believe personally that, like, in luck. I think that you create your own luck in life by like having enough goes at something. like, yes, I think there's some aspects of like luck, but I think you get more chances to get the luck if you put yourself in positions where you can be lucky, quote unquote.
Yeah, man.
Like I slid into his Twitter DMs and he just replied, which is great, but I've slid into loads of people's Twitter DMs. It just happened to be that Raoul Powell was literally my hero before that, and it was just amazing that he replied. But then I created my own look off the back of that. He came on my podcast, and he really helped me. And I want to shout out Raoul because he knows that he helped me, and we're still in contact today. And I'd say we're friends, and I think he would too, which is amazing. But after that, I created my own look in the fact that he didn't know much about the cryptocurrency that I really specialised in, which is XRP. And jokingly, at the end of the podcast, I was like, I'm going to write you an article so you understand XRP. Like, you need, like, I think you should buy some, in my personal opinion. And he was like, oh, yeah, that'd be great. And we were, like, laughing about it. And then I was like, I went off camera and I thought, oh actually, like, I need to do that for him. Like, he's scratched my back, so I'm going to scratch his, like, by helping him understand this crypto. The next day, I all day wrote a 17-page article about everything that I knew about XRP. Just blurted down everything I could from price action, fundamentals, everything, and I sent it to him. And he wasn't even expecting it because we only really jokingly talked about it. He messaged me back saying, that was a brilliant article and it's exactly what I've been looking for. How would you feel if I published the Global Macro Investor, which is his like private facing article? It costs like, I think it was $40,000 a year and I think it's now 18,000, but it goes out to like countries, sovereign funds, hedge funds, banks. Like the best achievement I've had by far, but that opportunity was only created because I did something above and beyond that I shouldn't really have done, like that not a lot of people would have done. But that's what I mean by you create your own look. So it might have been luck, or it might have caught him on the right day that he came onto my podcast. Yeah. But then from that, I've then created and pushed a relationship that I wanted to create with someone that I've always respected in the space, and he was like one of my personal heroes and role models, and I still watch all his content like every day. I think he's brilliant. But then there's other people, like I'm not going to name names because I want to keep people anonymous, like who I work with, obviously, who you know, who were massively influential in life, in my life now, and I see them as mentors, but I also give them advice because they want my opinion on things.
It's crazy, man.
But they only know that I know so in depth about some of the aspects of life and markets and crypto, TradFi, whatever. They only know that because I've created social media. Yeah. They only know that because I've marketed myself in a specific way. You make that chance, that opportunity for yourself, and when you get your foot in that door, that's when you've got to sell yourself. You've got to be yourself, and all the stuff that you've done in the past leads up to creating that person that when you're in that room, they know who you are. Yeah. Like I've seen this guy online, blah, blah, blah. Is he the real deal? I'll go in there, and like whenever I talk to someone, like you were saying, holding a conversation, I don't know specific things about like developing and coding, but I can go into a finance room and we can talk about finance. I can hold a conversation with most people about finance in general. I don't have any financial background. I've done the work, I've put the time in, I've created the content so people can see that I've done the work, and when I get there, I can back it up.
There you go, man. That's why you got to go all in. Mm-hmm. That's why you got to go all in.
You've got to go all in.
It sets you above like your average crypto influencer because your knowledge is that extensive, and that's just coming from you spending hours and hours researching, whether it be XRP or just blockchain technology in general, and that's where, and people can see that. People can see that your knowledge is above average. Like people who actually know crypto, they can tell who's chatting shit and who actually knows what they're talking about, because anyone. You can't really chat shit in crypto. Well, you can to a certain extent, but like
you get found out.
You get found out because you need to actually have a certain understanding about whatever it is you're speaking about, because it's quite technical.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that like recently, I've been spending most of my time, probably like the last year, while we've been in a bear market, I've been spending most of my time learning about traditional finance. Yeah. I've spent so much time learning about traditional finance, and look, I still definitely have gaps in my knowledge, but I really excel now in traditional finance, and I understand why like liquidity moves, how liquidity moves the markets, or where liquidity might be coming from, or what different things might influence different areas of the market. Like just as stupid examples and quite obvious ones for people who do track crypto quite often is like DXY, so the strength of the dollar, and how that has an inverse correlation often with Bitcoin. These are things that if I was just into crypto and when I first started my journey I had no idea about, but if you take your time and keep learning about things throughout the whole journey, you start to be able to paint like a picture of what you think is going on in the world. You have a look at what's going on in like and obviously, like I said, I have gaps in my knowledge, but you look at what's going on in China, and like, for example, at the start of the year in the newsletter, I was like, oh, I think we're going to get some liquidity out of China. It's what the first thing we're going to see. And then Chinese stocks went up, and then Bitcoin rallied off the back of that. And these are things that, if you really want to be ahead and you want to be the top 1%, you've got to dip your toe in each different area and have some understanding. Okay, well, why does that happen? Okay, well, maybe I don't understand what's happening on the political level inside China, but I know what might be happening out the back of the fact that they've got now a zero COVID policy, and they're trying to stimulate their economy again and get things going. Well, what might that relay into, and what might that relay into, and how might that affect my investment? And that's where you've got to start really trying to put yourself ahead by having more of a broad understanding, and then focus on some areas that you think you know a lot about. Like, for example, I'd say that I was probably one of the best researchers in the world on XRP and Ripple at a point. I wouldn't say necessarily I'm now, because I haven't kept that up as heavily, but then I've dipped that toe into other things to understand how
the overall picture
can be painted. And I think that's what this is about, the whole conversation that we're having about becoming a better person, and having all these experiences in the past, they lead you and add together to create this person that you're going to become. And this person that you're going to become, if you want to become a millionaire, you want to become successful, whoever you want to be, you decide who that person is by doing the back work before.
That's it.
And then that pays off one day when you get the opportunity.
That's it. I just feel like people like now just don't understand that. They just think it's going to fall on their lap. I used to be that guy. I used to think I could potentially make my goals by just doing what I was doing, but it's just too competitive now. Like, there's so many like youngsters now who are just like, let's take Matt for example. I'm going to shout out Matt. So, like, he's so much younger than us, and like even now we still think like, when I was his age, I was doing nothing.
No,
I was doing nothing, bro. I was like 21, 22 years old, just like came back from Thailand after uni, and I was working in retail, and I was doing nothing. Finished my retail job, went home, played PlayStation. That is literally what I was doing at 21, 22 years old. And now you're getting like this generation who are just like exposed to like YouTube and all these people making money remotely, and they're just on job. So that space is just coming ever like more and more competitive as time goes on, which is why it's right now it's the most important it's ever been to kind of find a bit of imbalance in your life and work on yourself and try and do stuff other people aren't doing.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that in some respects, but I also think that like Matt's is a bit of an anomaly. Like, Matt's is cracked.
No, Matt's is cracked.
Matt's is cracked. Like, he's right there off camera, but he is actually cracked.
No,
like,
he is cracked. But I'm just saying, like,
there's a lot of people.
If you want to be cracked, you have to act like a cracked guy.
But also thinking like what Matt's has done, he's surrounded himself with people like us who, we have a good personal relationship, but we have a good personal relationship because we share the same goals. Yeah. We do the same things.
It goes back into what we're talking about.
Yeah, it goes back into your network and the people you surround yourself with.
That's it.
Matt could be out drinking every weekend if he wanted to, around people his age.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't be here sitting in Dubai with what opportunities or may lie, or at least putting himself in the position where he can create an opportunity.
Yeah, bang on.
And that's the difference between people who want to do things and people who don't want to do things.
Right, so focusing more on like your crypto content creation side to it, like what are the biggest like lessons you've learned from content creation? What are the like biggest mistakes you made, and like what advice would you kind of give to someone who's starting or thinking about creating content, whether it be for crypto or something else?
I think one is to just persevere. That's one of the biggest things. There's going to be days when you really want to do it and days where you really, really don't want to do it. And two is to be authentic to yourself, because like early on, I might have had like 10,000 on TikTok or whatever, and we were coming into the ballroom, the people were offering me loads of money to make partnerships, sponsors. I was like, cool, I'll take a couple. Made a little bit of cash, like not much at all, like I'm talking a few £1,000s, like low thousands, and I was just like, whoa, this is such easy money, like didn't really think about it too much. And then I took one which ended up being a rug pull. And then I like thought to myself, like, why am I doing this? Like, this is not the reason I'm in crypto, like at all. Came into this space to educate people, to help people with what I know, share my knowledge, share everything about my life, which is where I'm trying to get to now. Like, I want to share how to become a better person and how to become a better man, specifically for young men. Like, I want young men to listen to this and think that they can just be somebody, even if that somebody is just themselves. That's what you need to do. That's why I'm saying you need to be authentic. You have to be authentic to yourself. So when that happened to me, and I like had a rug pull, I was like, whoa, this isn't like what I want to do. I didn't take any promotions. I haven't done anything to do with like promos or monetizing for like 2 years. Had a newsletter that we charged for. Even then, like I never really pushed it because it just felt like weird charging for things from my community. And that's something that I really need to work on because I understand both sides of the story. Like I know how much time content creators put in. Some people build a big following, and they should be paid for what they do. They spend all their time doing that.
It's hard work.
So I get when people take sponsorships, and some people I know, I'm not going to name any names, but that I don't think deserve to be where they are specifically. I don't mean that in a bad way because I think everyone who's put the work in deserves what they get.
Yeah.
But like some people like take a lot of cash and then just like sacked it off, and it's like it's just who you want to be, and that's why I mean stay authentic, because I think in the end, when push comes to shove, or like a few years down the line, people are going to know like who's doing what, who's done what, but also you're going to know like if you've made content or done anything in your life, you've done it for like a cash grab, or you've done it and you've messed some you've like fucked someone else over, or you've made someone else feel bad at your expense. Like I don't think that makes you like a better person just because you got more money in your bank account.
No.
I really don't think it does. And it's one thing that actually that this isn't like a criticism of him at all, but from my dad's generation, it's one thing that I really took from that generation is they were very much like dog eat dog. You have to be doing better than your neighbour to achieve. Like you've got to do this. It doesn't matter what anyone else does. You just got to do it. You've got to beat them at all costs. Yeah. And I don't believe that's how life needs to be. I believe that there's a competition of you versus everyone else in the world, and you versus yourself. But you don't deliberately, or you don't like have to think about anyone else. You can bring people up with you, and that's one of the best things. And we just talked about this off camera, and that's one of the best things that I've found from being in the position that I'm in is to see people around me, like you, like my sister, like another friend that I've got who's not in Dubai at the minute, that I inspire them. Like that's better than anything else.
That's
and
the best feeling.
That's what I want from social media, and that's why I haven't really monetized anything, because I want to inspire people, and I also want to help people like create financial freedom, and that's such a like clickbaity term online, but it's possible. But what I want to inspire is education from what I've learned. It's not like I want to show you what I've done and what I can do and what I am going to do, and I'm in a good position, but then I want you guys to be like, oh, I'm inspired by that. Yeah. I'm going to learn by that. And even if it's not within crypto, it's like, oh, well, he's super passionate about that. And what am I passionate about? Well, I can go and do this. I can go and do that. But one thing I do personally need to work on is like creating more of a cash flow from the following that I've got, however that may be. That's definitely something that I need to work on. So like have flaws. Like there's loads of things that I'm working on specifically, but that's one of my main goals at the minute, because I'm cash broke right now. Like we talked about at the start of the podcast, it's like, oh, net worth's the same. Well, my net worth's actually drastically different, but my cash flow is still the same. Like I've got no cash flow at the minute, and it's put me in a position where like I feel like I want to do certain things for cash, and I'm getting lots of offers from people and companies and things like this, and it's like they're tempting because I have no cash and I need cash. Yeah. But it's like, is that true to me? And that's what I'm trying to like work out at the minute. But
it's hard, that is it. That's a hard balance to get.
Definitely a hard balance, but like I don't mind like not having cash. It's just hard when you have like none. Like I'm super low right now.
That's what I mean, especially when you're in a different country like we are now.
Yeah.
It brings that uncertainty. But one thing that I've kind of realised recently is that we all chase like certainty too much. I do anyway. People look for certainty too much, and that just creates this stress that everyone has. And yes, like I know people are still offering you like deals here and there, and you're just being very selective who you're taking, but I think you almost like that uncertainty as well. Would you say you like uncertainty a bit, or?
Yeah, I like the uncertainty, and I also think that, as I said, like I've got a lot invested, and I'd like to be able to do it all without having to have taken. Like I said, I never wanted to work for anyone again. Yeah. But then, like I have another aspect of my thought process is that I do want to work with somebody because I want to help a company grow. But I wanted to work with them with my time just because I wanted to help them grow, not because I wanted remittance from them as well. Yeah. Like I wanted it to be like, look, I wanted to be part of that because I want to see a company grow and become a global company. Yeah. Or how can I add my help into that company and advise them in ways that then they're going to be able to take their company and grow it to a lot larger level because of my input, rather than it being like salary first, thought second. Yeah. I want it to be thought first,
That's
salary
interesting
second.
because I guarantee you, like the vast majority of influencers out there don't think like that. Like, and I don't blame them really, because again, like it's easy to say yes to a lot of, especially like crypto companies when we were in the bull run and when we go into the next bull run. I'm assuming the same thing is going to happen, maybe on a larger scale as well. So I guess when you're in the thick of it and you're in the thick of that bull run and you're in that euphoria kind of like moment, and money's just getting thrown at you, it's hard to say no. It is hard to say no, but like, respect for saying no.
Yeah.
Because it's hard. That's hard.
Yeah, but again, it goes back to being authentic and like what you want. It's about what you want, and like what I want from when I've made enough to be financially secure and secure the people around me is to help people.
Well, if you do it, I guess if you take your tactic of doing like thinking about that opposed to the money, you grow a bit more of a loyal like fan base, when you say. So I know for a fact, obviously we have like a paid Telegram group as part of our like newsletter service, and we've got, I think there's about 15 people in there right now, and they really look up to it. Like, and I think a message, it's great timing actually, because there's messages that one of the members put in there yesterday. They really highlighted the fact that, and they recognise that Will does it for them, not for the money, if that makes sense. Like, they genuinely do recognise that, and they actively tell him that as well, and they actively praise him for that. So it does, I guess, like, yeah, you're not getting money, but you're getting such a loyal fan base, which is actually going to help you out more in the future.
Yeah, sure. And like, that paid Telegram group, like, it's £10 a month. Yeah. It's nothing. Like, we don't charge any. The only reason we even have a charge is because I want to separate the people who really want to be in contact with me. And I put my trades in there because I want to be able to give back to them. But that, like, even yesterday, someone came into the group. Someone already actually was in the group, but he was like, "Oh, I'm a member of this other community, and this guy's like sacked his community off. He's paid for a one-time membership, and he's just like sacked it off. And there's like 350 people there who don't know where to go." And he was like, "What can I, like, as in asking me, what can I do to help them?" And it's just like, it's a really hard one because he's just like abandoned his community, and that's like not what I'll ever do, because I'm not there. Like, I'm not going to take a one-time payment off you and then just leave you because I'm not there for the money. Like, exactly. I don't. It's not something I think about. Like, I need the money to be able to live, but that's all I need. Like, I want to actually help people in life. That's, like I was saying, when the best thing for me is when I inspire people close to me. If I can do that on a larger scale, that's my life goal. That's my goal. The money is just like something I need to get to that stage where I can give all my time to helping people to do the next thing.
Man. That's sick. I love that.
Yeah. But I think that's kind of selfish as well from me, because that's what makes me feel good. Like, it's selfish being unselfish.
Nah, I wouldn't say that's selfish at all. From an external like point of view, I wouldn't say that's selfish in the slightest, because that's what you want, but ultimately you're having a net positive effect on the community.
Yeah, true.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, like, my biggest achievement, we talked about my biggest downfall in crypto, my biggest achievement specifically in crypto, because I have one outside of crypto that I don't really talk about too much. My biggest achievement in crypto is like where someone messaged me saying that because of a trade that I made that they put on, they could pay for their mother's chemotherapy. And like, that was like, that actually made me cry. It made me cry. It's like the best achievement I've ever had.
I remember when you told me that, and like, even I felt like happy inside as well, because that's mad. Not many people are going to go throughout their lives and be able to do something like that.
Yeah, no.
And you've done that in your 20s.
Yeah, and that's like, that shows you that, like, having this reach and being a good person and doing the work and trying to help people, like, it does pay off. Even if there's just like one person's life that I've made better.
That's it. That's a pretty big change though, what you do.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It's huge. Like, to actually think about the fact that someone somewhere who I didn't even know was watching my content watched my content and it changed their life. So we're just going to start to look towards the end of the podcast now. But to finish the podcast, I actually want to ask Pav a few questions, and I think you're going to ask me a couple after. But I want to start with, for anyone who's looking to get into content, what is the first step that you would tell them to do?
Learn. We have access to so much information out there. Like, YouTube has everything you need on there. Invest in your knowledge. It doesn't just apply to content creation. It applies to everything. It will help you develop so much as a person. And so my biggest bit of advice would be just to learn, analyze what other key figures are doing, identify their flaws and how you can potentially like capitalize on their flaws and improve their content, whether that be like, you know, repurposing their content, almost like taking inspiration from it but making it better. And that all comes from learning. It all comes from like self-improvement and trying to perfect every little part of your content, because it's not just sitting in front of a camera and like filming. As you know, there's like editing, there's like the script you're going to say, you need to keep your viewers like constantly engaged in your content by almost providing a hook every 3 seconds. Sure. So you've obviously got your hook, which is what, say you're scrolling, you got your hook, then you've also got your visual hook. So like that's something I've been playing around with a lot recently, and I've only like developed that through learning and following the right people on social media, and yeah, there's just so much. It's so broad, and like there's people just think content creation is just like a really like basic thing. You can just do it on your phone, make a video on TikTok and you go viral like that, but it's not like that. You need to like really actively try and perfect every bit.
Yeah, well, you can go viral, but you have more chance when you do better things. But it's like what you were just saying there. I want to just clarify one thing that you said. You said invest in yourself, and one thing that I think is important is investing is in learning, not necessarily with money, because you can learn all this stuff for free.
Yeah, I didn't mean that by money.
Yeah, I just want to clarify that, because a lot of people go out there and like buy a course, and I don't necessarily recommend that.
Yeah, I mean I guess that's quite like, if you want to do that, you're fine, because the only reason I'm saying that is because I've heard a lot of like successful people actually speak about courses. Now, I don't know whether they're saying this because they're trying to sell their own course, probably is.
Yeah.
But one valid point that they do bring up is the fact that if you do buy a course, it just fast tracks your progression, which it does do.
Yeah.
But like at the end of the day, if you've got no money, you've got no excuse, because like you've got the same resources that I had. For example, I didn't buy a course, but I learned editing just through watching people on Instagram, watching people on YouTube, and then just analysing people's content. So like it's free.
Exactly. That's what I was trying to say, is like that you obviously can buy a course, especially if you like someone specifically. Yeah. But it doesn't need to be a barrier to entry. Yeah, you don't have to have money. It
doesn't need to be an excuse. Again, if we're looking at more tips, if you're a complete beginner right now, like what app would you use? All things like this. I found out about all of this on YouTube. I literally just downloaded CapCut. It's free. You can get a pro version. Obviously, I pay for the pro version, but that's only like $10 a month.
But we're not affiliated, by the way.
Not affiliated. Not pro. But you can use other ones. There's like VN, I think. Again, just YouTube it. If you YouTube what are the best free video editing softwares, an array of list will come up, and you can just select one, get accustomed to it, and basically perfect yourself like using that. Another thing you can use is like Adobe Sound Enhancer. So you literally, again, straight from CapCut, you can export your MP3 audio and you input it into this Adobe Sound Enhancer. Again, just Google it. It's free. So again, you have no excuses not to like improve your content. And it basically makes you sound like you're using a professional mic without buying it. So again, reducing the barriers to entry. If you can't afford to pay for a mic like this, you've got Adobe Sound Enhancer, which makes your voice sound like this, gets rid of any noise behind you, which again, I only learned from watching other people on Instagram and learning and being active with like how to perfect your craft, basically.
Yeah, and something I wanted to touch on with that is like, everything you just talked about there can be applied to everything, not just content creation. It can be applied to if you've got a brand. It can be applied to if you've got like retail facing products.
Just like life.
Yeah, life in general. If you want to like, you can always improve at whatever you're doing, and you can just apply like all those little tick boxes to anything that you do in life.
Yeah, exactly. Like even let's think about non-work gym. If you want to get the best physique and you want to like look the best, you want to be in the best shape you can. Again, there's so many influencers online who will give you value for free. So like they'll give you like diet tips, techniques, training splits, all that kind of stuff. Again, these guys offer courses, but there are a host of people who are trying to get into the fitness game who will give it you for free. Yeah. And it's just spending time finding that information.
And like the exact point that you were making is like, but you improve the most if you try and improve on yourself. Every single time you go in the gym, you try and improve in a little better way. You use that information you're just talking about there to help yourself improve. So like, for example, something we do want to talk about is fitness at some point. Obviously, you go to the gym every day, and you've got a good physique. Yeah. So to get to that point, you might have done it subconsciously, but what were you thinking like each session? Were you thinking like, oh, I've done like 4 sets of 8 on 80 kg today. Next week I want to do 4 sets of 8 on 82.5, or like 5 sets of 8, or like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So I mean, like if we're talking about fitness specifically, it's just like trying different types of. I don't know if the mic's going to pick that up. We've got a little kid screaming outside, But I don't. It's just trying different types of like splits, for example, or like again noting what you lifted the week before and actively maybe adopting like training for strength, like 5 sets of 5, for example, and that increases your strength. And then when you go back to like you're trying to hit 8 reps on the incline bench, you've hit higher than you did 3 weeks ago because you've tried something new, and you've maybe tried a different technique, for example. Again, I don't know how many people watching this go to the gym, whatever, but like concentrating on the eccentric movement, trying to increase like your hypertrophy through that kind of thing. They're little things, they're tiny little things. These are things that bodybuilders practice and they talk about in their videos on YouTube, which I used to watch like every night before I went to sleep when I first started going to the gym. And these are tips that you mentally take and you implement into your training. Exactly. And that's how I got into the shape that
exactly. And that's exactly the point that I'm trying to make with you in the gym and content creation itself. Is like you just start to, when you put yourself in that environment and you want to learn, you take these little tips and you enhance your brain.
It's crazy how you can just apply it like that.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the point that I was trying to make. You can do that in any aspect of life.
Yeah, bang on.
So just to finish up then, what are your biggest things that you're looking for going forward? Like what are you trying to work on at the minute?
I think the biggest thing I'm still trying to really like focus on for me is communication, because I'm better in my communication skills. I think if you can communicate effectively, it increases your confidence in the way you speak to people. Sure. And like it comes back to like, you don't know who you're going to be speaking to in the future. Like obviously, for example, we're in Dubai. We're planning to go to all these networking events, in these crypto networking events, and actively going to speak to people is how I plan to achieve on doing that. So for me, it's just communication, because I think it's the biggest asset for anyone. I think so.
I think that's really important.
What about you?
What am I working on the most right now?
What would you like to improve the most right now?
What I'd like to focus more of my time on, now I've got more of a reach, is I still feel like I need to get a bit more of a reach, but I feel like with quality of content, as in visual quality of content, with your help and with Max's help and Harry's help, who's in the room as well, then my visual quality will improve. And I think that my knowledge base now backs up, like, my knowledge base has obviously superseded my visual content for a long time. So I need to work on that so I can then reach more people. But once I've started to reach more people, which I don't think will take long, because I've obviously got the foundation now in the community, I want to work on showing people that like I do more than just crypto, as we've talked about in this, because I want to help people change their own lives. Even if I just inspire a few people, I want to help inspire them in ways that I personally believe are good. And that's like having a purpose in life, like being physically active and fit, like being kind to people around you, helping people around you, inspiring people, and also becoming like financially free. And like, I don't really like that specific term, because financially free is very subjective on who you are and like what you want to do in life. Like someone might think financially free is like having 10 million in a Lambo or 100 million in a Lambo. I personally don't see financially free as being like that. I've never really been interested in material goods. I'm pretty financially free now. I just need a little bit more cash flow, and I'll definitely be financially free after the next bull run. Even if everything I've got goes to zero, the skills that I've learned I can always use to create opportunities in the future. So that's what I mean by like financially free. I want to empower other people to be able to believe in themselves to do that sort of thing.
Yeah, awesome. I mean, I think we'll wrap it up there, because I don't know how long this has been, but again, this whole point of this whole episode was just to talk about life, just a general journey that we've been on since our first try at doing the BrokeCast. And these are going to be a lot more like crypto specific. We're going to be discussing a lot more like just up to date news, so you guys can keep up to date and like know our thoughts on specific situations. We'll pop up some charts as well, maybe discuss some charts.
Yeah, for sure.
But again, we are going to include like, a lot of what we spoke about today. If something happens, what we're doing, we're going to document it and just speak. Because again, like Will's been like trying to preach this whole episode. The whole point of this podcast is to kind of inspire people watching it and help people watching it. We want to provide as much value to people watching it as well. So I think the best way to do that is talk about crypto and all that kind of stuff, which we specialize in, but also just to talk about life in general, because it all fits into one. Like we're going to talk about fitness as well, a little bits of that, and just life.
Gonna get guests on.
We're going to try and get some big guests on as well.
Yeah, we've got like obviously
Will's got like a lot of network, like we said. Will's managed to grow his network, and obviously we're in Dubai, so we've got access to a lot of people here. So we're going to get a lot of interesting guests on. And yes, we're going to ask them crypto-specific questions, but we're also going to ask them life questions as well, because everyone's so different. Like me and Will are so different, and then people who we have on are going to be super different.
And you guys should be able to find out from that, like, what inspires you and what doesn't, but also what differs between people who do what they want to do, but what is the same. You're going to find, okay, well, they all do this one thing, they might all be determined, or these sorts of things. But just as we finish up, I still want to ask you guys to help us out here, because if you did enjoy like the episode and you were inspired by the content, sharing it with people is the best way for us to spread the message. And obviously we appreciate that. Like, I wouldn't be here without you guys, and so shout out to everyone who like watches my content, and like I really do appreciate it from anyone who like drops a comment on this video. Like, I see pretty much every comment. I reply to as much as I can. I reply to as many DMs as I can. So any like shares, retweets, all that, like, that's big love from me. Like, absolutely big love from me, because I couldn't be here, and we couldn't be here without like that. Like, that's exactly why I do it. The inspiration that I hopefully give to you guys, and then you guys sharing our content and being inspired is reciprocal. So that's pretty good.
Yeah, man. But yeah, we'll wrap it up, and we'll catch you guys next week. Peace up, A-Town.